Hey there, and welcome back to Grandpa is Him, where we don't just dig up stories, we grab a shovel, a flashlight, and probably a snack. I'm Lynn Dimmick, and today we're going tomb hunting. Not in a spooky Halloween way, but in a where on earth did these legendary people disappear to kind of way. First, we'll unravel the centuries-old mystery of Genghis Khan's secret grave, a story full of camels, satellites, and sacred ground. Then we'll zoom out and explore 7 other tombs that historians and adventurers still can't find, despite ancient maps, radar scans, and the occasional bold claim from a guy with a metal detector. So buckle up for secrets, science, and a whole lot of shoveling. Let's dig in. Recently on social media, I came across a meme that caught my attention. It had all kinds of wild stories and claims about Genghis Khan and his death and burial. And I thought, I'm not sure this could be true, but rather than try to explain the meme to you, let this story do all the talking for you. You know him, the guy who practically invented conquering. He was unstoppable until, well, he stopped in 1227, somewhere in Mongolia. Legend has it, after his death, to hide his burial site, the Mongols took secrecy to a chilling extreme. According to stories, anyone remotely connected to his burial, including the 2,000 mourners, were systematically executed. Then those executioners were killed too, and to make sure nobody found the place, horses ran over the grave to erase all traces. Now, the question I had when I saw the meme was, if they killed everybody that was there and everybody that knew, then who is left to tell the story, and so how do we know that happened? So that got me started looking, and that's where we came up with this today. I mean, all this talk about killing and horses, that's overkill, right? But did this actually happen, or is this an epic exaggeration? Let's dig deeper. The tale of mass executions to protect the privacy of Genghis Khan's burial site is indeed dramatic. While it's a compelling narrative, historical evidence supporting this specific account is sparse, as I doubt it exists. The Secret History of the Mongols, the oldest surviving Mongolian language literary work, details Genghis Khan's life and death, but does not mention such executions, which I think would probably be important to mention. Similarly, Marco Polo's accounts, written decades later, relate various stories about the Khan's burial, but lack first-hand confirmation of these events. What we do know is that Genghis Khan wished to be buried in an unmarked grave, a common practice among Mongols to prevent grave robbing and to honor the deceased's return to nature. The exact location remains unknown, but it's widely believed to be near the sacred Burkhan Khaldun mountain in the Kinti province of northeastern Mongolia. To protect the sanctity of this area, the Mongols established the Ik-Korig, or Great Taboo, a 240 square kilometer region that was off limits to outsiders for centuries. Guarded by the Dark Khud, a group of elite warriors trespassing in this area was punishable by death. There we go with that theme again. So while the story of mass executions adds a layer of intrigue, it's essential to approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism. Historical records emphasize the Mongols' desire for secrecy and reverence rather than bloodshed in this context. Stay tuned as we explore how modern technology and ongoing research continue the quest to uncover the final resting place of one of history's most enigmatic figures. So here's the thing. History loves drama. History without drama is boring. It's like watching PBS all the time. But historians love proof. And the truth is, proof for these mass executions is as hard to find as Genghis Khan's tomb itself. Experts today argue these stories might be metaphorical or propaganda, meant to emphasize just how sacred and secretive his final resting place really was. For example, Dr. Jack Weatherford, an expert on Mongolian history, points out that there's no solid archaeological evidence of mass graves or such brutal acts connected specifically to the Khan's burial. So yeah, this legendary narrative might be more like a medieval PR stunt than historical reality. But then again, it sure does make a good story. It's like when Grandpa catches a fish. Each telling makes the fish a little bit bigger. The Mongolian storytellers probably weren't so different from me on a fishing trip. Now, speaking of tombs from that era, while Genghis Khan's own burial site remains elusive, archaeologists have uncovered other significant tombs from the same period. For instance, in Mongolia's Dornod province, a burial site believed to belong to an elite woman was discovered. The grave contained a wooden coffin and various grave goods, including silk textiles, gold jewelry, fragments of a bronze vessel, and a silver cup. These findings suggest the high status of the individual and provide insights into the burial practices of the time. Additionally, the Noin Ula burial site in northern Mongolia, dating back to the 1st century BCE, has yielded a wealth of artifacts. Excavations have uncovered lacquer cups inscribed with Chinese characters, textiles, and other items that indicate extensive cultural exchanges between the Xiongnu aristocracy and neighboring civilizations. These discoveries highlight the rich tapestry of burial customs and the significance placed on honoring the deceased with valuable goods. They also underscore the complexity of Mongolian history and the importance of continued archaeological exploration. Let's jump ahead about 800 years. Genghis Khan's grave is still lost, but now we've got drones, satellites, and people in sweatpants solving mysteries from their living rooms. Welcome to the modern treasure hunt. Back in 2010, a scientist named Albert U. Min Lin led a bold expedition called the Valley of the Khans Project. His idea? Use satellite imagery and crowdsourcing to search for the tomb. No need for shovels, just thousands of people squinting at satellite photos, clicking boxes that looked, well, tubish. Over 10,000 people volunteered to comb through images of northeastern Mongolia from their laptops. Their mission? Spot unusual patterns, like geometric shapes, straight lines, or mounds that could hint at ancient structures. And honestly, they found a lot. Over 55 unexplored archaeological sites were flagged. Burial mounds, fortresses, road networks. It's like they unlocked a cheat code to ancient Mongolia. But the big one? Genghis Khan's grave? Still hiding. Well, it turns out that the mystery wasn't just under dirt. It was protected by Mongolian custom, tight government restrictions, and 800 years of time. Lin even used non-invasive tools like ground-penetrating radar, magnetometry, and LiDAR, which is kind of like X-ray vision for archaeologists. These technologies let researchers see under the ground without actually digging. And even with all that tech, the tomb remains elusive. Now, to be clear, the scientists weren't being secretive. In fact, they were very publicly respectful. They worked alongside Mongolian officials, religious leaders, and locals to make sure they didn't overstep cultural boundaries. Because you don't want to be that guy, the outsider who rolls into sacred ground waving a shovel and yelling, "Eureka!" in broken Mongolian. And that's kind of the magic here. You have cutting-edge technology, global collaboration, and 13th century mystery all coming together. Even if the tomb hasn't been found, the effort itself has revealed hundreds of hidden archaeological wonders and rekindled global fascination with Mongolian history. Plus, we now know you can fight boredom and do meaningful historical work in your pajamas. All right, so after all the satellites, the radar, the digital treasure maps, and 10,000 pairs of clicking eyeballs, you might be thinking, okay, Grandpa, just dig the thing up already. Well, here's where it gets complicated. The area that most historians believe to be Genghis Khan's final resting place is Burkhan Khaldun, a mountain in Mongolia's Kinti province. Now, this isn't just any mountain, it's sacred, deeply sacred. Mongolians believe this is where Khan was born, and it's the place he chose to return to in death. The entire area is spiritually protected. In fact, for centuries, the region was guarded by a special elite unit known as the Darkhad warriors, whose full-time job was to keep people out. That's right. 700 years of get off my lawn with horses and swords. That's dedication. Then, in 2015, the protection got official. The United Nations UNESCO designated Burkhan Khaldun and its surrounding area a World Heritage Site. That means international recognition, government oversight, and you guessed it, no random tomb raiding allowed. Think of it like putting a big velvet rope around sacred history with a sign that says, respect required, shovels prohibited. Now, this isn't some red tape bureaucratic mess. It's about preserving cultural integrity. Mongolian culture places enormous spiritual value on the land, the ancestors, and the cycle of life. Digging up the past, even in the name of science, isn't just frowned upon. It can be seen as dishonoring the very legacy you're trying to understand. So even if someone thought they knew exactly where the tomb was, they still couldn't excavate it without violating national law and international agreements. And honestly, that's kind of beautiful. It's one of those rare cases where science steps back and says, you know what? Let's just listen to the people who live here. Of course, that also means we're probably not finding that tomb anytime soon. But maybe the real treasure is the story we're still chasing. So after centuries of mystery and modern technological endeavors, you'd think we'd have pinpointed Genghis Khan's final resting place by now. But alas, the tomb remains elusive. That hasn't stopped a slew of claims and hoaxes from surfacing over the years, each proclaiming, we found it. Spoiler alert, they haven't. One notable instance occurred in 2001 when a joint American-Mongolian expedition led by Chicago commodities trader Maury Kravitz announced the discovery of a walled cemetery near Bet Sherit. The site contained at least 20 sealed tombs believed to belong to high-status individuals. While significant, this find did not lead to Khan's tomb. Then there's the tale of French archaeologist Pierre-Henri Guiscard. In 2015 and 2016, Guiscard and his team conducted unauthorized drone surveys over the Kinti Mountains. They identified a 250-meter-long mound atop Burkhan Khaldun, suggesting it resembled Chinese imperial tombs. However, without official permission or scientific publication, these claims remain speculative. And let's not forget the internet's role in perpetuating myths. Sensational headlines like Genghis Khan's tomb found in remote cave have circulated, often accompanied by dubious photos and scant evidence. These stories capture public imagination but lack archaeological credibility. One of the most enduring legends involves a camel. Yep, a camel. It is said that a young camel was buried alive with Khan to mark the grave. Years later, the mother camel returned to the site, mourning her offspring, inadvertently revealing the tomb's location. While touching, this story remains unverified. Now, if they killed 2,000 people, why wouldn't they kill a camel? In 1920, French diplomat Saint-Jean Perse embarked on an expedition across Mongolia, hoping to locate Khan's tomb. Accompanied by a team including a sinologist and a doctor, a sinologist, I guess that's somebody that knows something about China or knows this. They relied on ancient texts and local lore. Despite their efforts, the tomb remained hidden. These anecdotes highlight the blend of determination, folklore, and occasional folly that characterized the ongoing quest to find Genghis Khan's tomb. So, here we are, 800 years, dozens of expeditions, a sky full of satellites, thousands of volunteer eyes, and still no tomb. We've followed bloodstained legends, camel tracks, radar scans, and ancient poetry. We've met rogue archaeologists, stubborn mountains, and spiritual boundaries that say, yeah, maybe just let this one stay a mystery. And maybe that's the point. Somewhere in Mongolia, Genghis Khan might still be lying in rest beneath sacred soil, undisturbed exactly as he wished. No tourists, no Instagram geotags, just earth, spirit, and silence. There's a poetic power in that. The world's greatest conqueror left no golden sarcophagus, no pyramid, no mausoleum shouting his name, just rumors, reverence, and a blank spot on the map that says, "Here be mystery." Sure, it frustrates archaeologists, but it inspires the rest of us. Every generation gets to wonder, what if I find it? Every click on a satellite image, every dusty trek up a windswept ridge continues a story bigger than any one person. And if we're being honest, Genghis Khan's tomb has already given us something. Not gold, not artifacts, but a reminder of how mystery fuels imagination. It's why we tell stories. It's why we dig, literally and metaphorically. And hey, it gave us a pretty great podcast segment too. So thanks for joining me on this journey. Whether you're here for the history, the jokes, or just wondering how deep we can go on one lost grave, you made it. Hang on, and I'm going to tell you about 7 more lost and missing tombs. Alrighty. So, Genghis Khan, still hiding, and honestly, he's done a pretty good job of it so far. But he's not the only one keeping secrets. Let's head to Egypt, China, Italy, even the jungle, and check in on a few other famous folks who've managed to vanish without a trace. Here's my countdown of the 7 greatest lost tombs that history still owes us. First up, Alexander the Great, man of conquest, style, and apparently ghosting the archaeological community. He died in 323 BCE in Babylon, and his body supposedly made a royal road trip to Alexandria, Egypt. Not for a beach vacation, but to be entombed like a rock star. His tomb was once so famous that Roman emperors detoured just to visit. Julius Caesar, starstruck. Caligula stole his armor because nothing says fashion like dead Macedonian chic. Then, poof, gone. Alexandria has been hit by tsunamis, earthquakes, and about 2,000 years of bad urban planning. Here's the kicker. Back in 1888, this guy, Heinrich Schliemann, famous for discovering Troy, tried to dig under the Nabi Daniel Mosque. People thought that might be the tomb site, but officials said nope, so the mystery endures. If I had a nickel for every time someone said we found it, I'd have enough to build a replica tomb myself. Still, hope remains beneath Alexandria streets. Or Starbucks, same thing these days. Next, Cleopatra and Mark Antony. A love story so dramatic, Shakespeare even said, yeah, I'll take that one. After their deaths in 30 BCE, they supposedly asked to be buried together. Ultimate ride or die vibes, right? Now comes the search. Enter Dr. Kathleen Martinez, a Dominican archaeologist who's been digging at Taposiris Magna for over 20 years. She's uncovered coins with Cleopatra's face, statues, catacombs, but no Cleopatra yet. One time they found a tunnel 43 feet deep that may have led to something big. But flooding halted the excavation. Egypt, folks, is never just sand, is it? So, yeah, they haven't found the tomb yet, but Martinez is still at it. If she ever finds it, I'll book the next flight, bring roses, and apologize for every Cleopatra Halloween costume I've ever seen. This next one is one that I've seen references to, and I've seen pictures of parts of it, but I've never known the whole story. If you've got rivers of mercury, booby traps, and a terracotta army in your front yard, that sounds just like Indiana Jones, but you're really probably talking about Qin Shi Huang. The first emperor of China died in 210 BCE and was buried beneath an artificial hill near Jian. We found his warriors, 8,000 of them, but not the central tomb. Ancient records say the tomb is filled with stars on the ceiling, rivers of mercury below, and crossbows rigged to fire at intruders. It's less burial and more Bond villain headquarters. Researchers used ground-penetrating radar and found a 500-foot-long chamber, but still won't dig. Why? Because mercury is literally in the soil. One study confirmed toxic levels. So we're leaving the tomb alone for now. Probably wise, because if you trigger a 1,000-year-old trap and unleash ancient poisonous gas, well, that's not a great look for team science. Attila the Hun. the guy you call when diplomacy fails. He died in 453 CE, supposedly on his wedding night, from a nosebleed. History's version of you can't make this stuff up. Now, the burial. His men allegedly diverted a river, buried Attila in the dry bed, covered him up, and let the water flow back. Then, like every bad secret pact, killed the workers. Yeah, where have we heard that one before? People have searched the Tisza River in Hungary and other places across Europe. Some 18th century expeditions even tried after riverbank collapses, hoping erosion might expose the tomb. No luck. There's even an episode of Expedition Unknown dedicated to finding him. Josh Gates didn't find the tomb, but he did find some ancient wine, which, let's be honest, is a decent consolation prize. Let's jump over to the Western Hemisphere. The last Inca rulers were not buried in Cusco or Machu Picchu. No, they went full secret agent and retreated to Vilcabamba, deep in the jungle. Explorer Jean Savoy rediscovered it in 1964. Since then, archaeologists have found foundations, Inca walls, and even warrior tombs that predate the empire, but no royal tombs. The jungle eats evidence like I eat gas station beef jerky. Good stuff. LiDAR scans from helicopters showed dozens of possible sites hidden underneath the trees and the soil. Finding these tombs is like reverse Jumanji, except the jungle doesn't want to be found, but give it time. History can only hide for so long. Imhotep was a genius. Architect of the first pyramid, priest, physician, and later a god. That's like being Da Vinci, Einstein, and Mr. Rogers all rolled into one. His step pyramid at Saqqara still stands, but his own tomb, not a clue. British archaeologist W. Emery thought he had it in the 1960s. His team uncovered elaborate catacombs, then stopped. Political instability, funding, classic archaeology problems. Imhotep may have built himself the world's best hidey hole, and you know what? I respect that. Nothing says legacy like frustrating every archaeologist for 4,000 years. Talk about playing hide and seek and truly winning. Last on our list is Alaric the Visigoth. Alaric sacked Rome in 410 CE, grabbed the gold, burned the place, walked out, then promptly died weeks later. Karma? Could be. Legend says his men diverted the Bacento River in Italy, buried him in the dry riverbed with treasure, and then, say it with me, killed everyone involved. Over the centuries, search parties have tried to locate the tomb, especially after earthquakes altered the landscape. Nothing confirmed, but locals still tell the tale. If you're ever in southern Italy and see someone staring into a river with a metal detector, buy them a coffee. They might just be onto something. And there you have it. 7 tombs, thousands of years of mystery, and not a single cursed mummy chase scene. Kind of disappointing. It's not like the way Indiana Jones would do it. Whether it's lost love, poisoned rivers, jungle secrets, or ghost rivers, these stories remind us that sometimes the best part of history are the ones still hiding. And before I wrap it up, I wanted to share with you this story. It's an old story that recently came to my attention again. After having dug to a depth of 10 feet last year outside of Buffalo, New York, scientists found traces of copper cable dating back 120 years. They came to the conclusion that their ancestors already had a telephone network more than 100 years ago. Not to be outdone by the New Yorkers, in the weeks that followed, a Wheeling, West Virginia archaeologist dug to a depth of 20 feet somewhere just outside of Woodsdale. Shortly after, a story in The Intelligencer read, West Virginia archaeologists reporting a finding of 200-year-old copper cable. They have concluded that their ancestors already had an advanced high-tech communications network 100 years earlier than the New Yorkers. 1 week later, a local newspaper in Barton, Ohio, reported the following. After digging down about 30 feet deep in his pasture near the community of Hell's Kitchen, Pete Riley, a heck of an engineer and a self-taught archaeologist, reported that he found absolutely nothing. Riley has therefore concluded that 300 years ago, Ohio had already gone wireless. Thanks for joining me. I'm Len Dimick, and this has been Grandpa's Hymn. Keep your curiosity sharp and your sense of humor sharper. And hey, if you find any ancient tombs, maybe you don't want to tweet it out.